family get together and people say, well, what do you do? A lot of the times, here's what people will say. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a coach. I'm an engineer. And they leave it at that. And everybody's like, okay. And like probably half the time people will forget, right? Because we just say things like that because it's part of our social norms, right? Okay, so if you really want to stand out and you really want to grow your business and use these conversations as an actual opportunity for you to get yourself out there, and it's kind of like a mini marketing opportunity, right? So here's what I call the cocktail conversation. When you're having a cocktail conversation, the most important thing is you want to have a one liner when people ask you, well, what do you do? And your one liner needs to consist of two things, generally speaking. Okay. It's who you help and the result that you get them. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple examples from my clients because I think they're super juicy and really awesome. Okay. So here is one. And I want you to guess what industry that my client is in because I don't think you're going to be able to guess necessarily from his one-liner. So this is his one-liner. So someone says, "Hey, well, what do you do?" Well, I help trial lawyers tip the scales in their favor ethically. What? Okay. Tell me more about that, right? You want to know more. So your one-liner, you want people to say, "That's cool. Tell me more about that," right? So what that client does is he's actually a image consultant and he preps expert witnesses to get ready for trial. Okay. But he's an image consultant. Now, he works with people who are not trial lawyers as well, right? So I know sometimes people can stress out about niching in, and you can change the way you talk about things depending on the room you're in, right? But when he is going after trial lawyers, that is the one liner that he uses. Okay. Here's another example. I make mommies. What? Okay, so this woman, she's actually a functional nutritionist who helps women to prepare their bodies for pregnancy. Ooh, it looks like we have a little special guest. Kate, bud? Okay, so I make mommies. Here's the last one. I make your business work without you. Okay, that's a pretty good one too. This is an online business manager who helps people. I'm so sorry. I'm putting lotion on my daughter's hands while she comes in. This is just how it goes sometimes when you're live and your nanny went home. Okay, go see baby. Whoops. Thank you. Um, okay. I make your business work without you. So this woman is an online business manager who helps systemize people's backends, right? But who doesn't want a business that works without you, right? So you really need to put in the mind of the other person the result, that thing you make possible. What do you unlock because of the skill set that you have, because of what you do? All right. Now, the whole point of this one liner is for people to say, tell me more, right? That's why it's called the cocktail conversation. You want to get into a conversation with people because conversations are where relationships are built. All right. So the second part of this is to have your conversation, but you want to still keep things high level and to the point. You don't want to start going off saying, like, for example, if you're a doctor, here's what you don't want to do. If someone comes up to you and says, um, what do you do? You're like, well, I help sick people get better. Well, isn't that what every single doctor does? Yeah. Yes. So you don't want to say what everybody does. Don't define your job role, right? Don't define what a coach is. Don't define what a nutritionist is. Don't define what you know, a um, an image consultant is. You want to talk about what you make possible. Okay. So here's the formula for the conversation that can happen after you talk about your one liner. So if somebody says, really, that is so cool. Tell me more about that. This is what you say. Well, you know how this problem exists. Okay. And you'll take this problem, insert your own. You know how this problem exists? Well, what I do is this expertise that I have. And as a result, my clients enter the result that your clients get. Okay. So here's an example that we could do with our functional nutritionist, right? And I make mommies. So if someone were to say to her, well, that is so interesting, tell me more about that. Okay, well, you know how couples will try to conceive and it doesn't work for them. And then they go do in vitro and it's really expensive and they're frustrated and they're sad and it's heartbreaking and they would like to have a child. Well, what I do is help prepare a woman's body from a holistic inside out way, including down to her genetics, to help her body be prepared for and to get pregnant and to carry that child through delivery. And as a result, my clients get pregnant within 3 months of working with me and go on to have happy, healthy children, right? That would be an example of what you could say if you're having one of these cocktail conversations, right? So you don't want to dive into all the little nitty gritties like, well, what I do is I do this DNA test and then I get all of the levels of her vitamins and then I take them and I make an assessment about them and then I decide what they should eat on a daily basis and blah blah blah. That's way too much information and your person's going to check out because they're mentally overloaded. People can only handle such a small amount of information. So you've got to keep things very, very high level when you're talking to them. Okay? That's the formula you want to use. So I help clients get X result. Oh, really? Tell me more. Well, you know how this problem exists? Well, what I do is this thing I'm an expert at. And as a result, my clients get X results. All right. If you have any questions about that or you want me to take a look at yours, you can always pop this into the comments or send me a message. This is one of the things that my clients are always like refining, working on, and it's super important because this is what positions you as an expert. This is what positions you to be unforgettable in the room. If you mess this up, then people are just going to they're like not going to remember. And it's not because of you or anything, you're not good enough or something. It's just because you didn't happen to say the things that really like zing and made them think, wow, that is totally cool. That is totally different, right? The last thing I want to share is what I call the cookie analogy. And I've talked about this in here before, but here's just one more thing to showcase what I want you to do versus not do. All right. So many people talk about the ingredients of what they do, right? So a doctor, well, I help sick people get better. Yeah, of course you're a doctor. That's what all doctors do, right? So instead of saying, let's just pretend that you have the world's best chocolate chip cookie recipe. Okay. If someone asks you and says, well, what do you do? You're like, oh, well, I take sugar and butter and eggs and flour, and I put it in a bowl, and I put in chocolate chips, and I bake it, and I make cookies. They're like, okay, yeah, that's what all chocolate chip cookie recipes are that. There's nothing special about that, right? But if instead someone says, well, what do you do? You're like, oh, well, I make the world's best chocolate chip cookies that turns neighborhood parties into unforgettable parties that everybody tells their friends about. So I make you the talk of the block. Okay, what? If you're telling me you're going to make me the talk of the block and my party's going to be unforgettable, I don't care how that happens. Like, you send that my way, let's do it, right? So make sure you're talking about the result that your thing makes possible. What do the world's best chocolate chip cookies make possible? You become the talk of the block, baby. All right? That's what people want. They want the result of that thing, right? They don't just want to buy a mattress, they want a good night's sleep. Right? They don't want to buy DNA tests and blood tests and things like that. They want to they want to conceive a child, right? Like whatever that thing is that your client wants, you've got to get really clear about that, get clear about that result, and then you can shape this cocktail conversation around that so that you can really spread the word about what you're doing in a strategic way that also is a meaningful way building real relationships. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.